Welcome to part 3. After my last few GPU videos blew up, I thought it was only fitting to show you how to replace the thermal pads and thermal paste. This is the Zotac 1080 Ti, but the tools you'll need and the process is going to be the same for any GPU. You'll need a screwdriver set, you'll need thermal pads, thermal paste, a caliper, and some alcohol. Of course, finger condoms are optional. First, you're going to flip it on its back and start removing all the screws that are holding the GPU to the heatsink. Keep track of your screws because some can vary in length. Make sure to disconnect the fan. You should be able to lift the heatsink from the board, and if your GPU has RGB, disconnect that as well. With the heatsink off, you can see the thermal pads and paste that we'll be replacing. The pads help cool down the transistors, inductors, and the VRAM. As you can see over here, they actually already started to leak oil. Grab a rag and start wiping off the thermal paste. This thermal paste is super dry, so I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol to help loosen it up. Now that this one's super clean, we're going to clean the heatsink off. Now that that's clean, let's go ahead and remove the thermal pads. Grab a flat, sharp tool. Make sure you don't rip them because we're going to try and measure them after. Go ahead and measure the thickest part of the thermal pad. This one's sitting about 2 millimeters. And the same goes for the lilac thermal pads. Always make sure to zero out your caliper. We're going to do some additional cleaning of the board and the heatsink, and then we're going to cut the thermal pads to size. Grab a pair of scissors and go ahead and put the old thermal pads on the new ones with the plastic in between and cut to size. Now that the thermal pads are cut to size, we're going to start placing them on the heatsink. I did forget to record this step, but go ahead and apply the thermal pads in the same spot that they were before and apply the paste evenly across the GPU. To reassemble the GPU, just take the same steps you took to disassemble it in reverse. This is likely the same process MSI took to repair the oily 3090 from part 1. If this was helpful, follow and like for more content. And as always, it's Piney approved.